I was just thinking about some of the old teachers I had way back long ago when I was in school. And there was a there was a teacher I had in I think it was fifth grade math. His name was Mr. Klinefelter. Now, Mr. Klinefelter was a husky guy, and he had reddish, bushy brown hair and a reddy, bushy mustache. And his whole face just looked like it was drooping, and he was very sour and very serious and straight to the point. No sense of humor. I should have known better. A day that thing happened, I don't know what I was thinking. But, I'm half autistic, so I don't think about, I have no clue about social norms or etiquette and any of that shit. So, one fucking day. So I was 10 or 11 years old, fifth grade, elementary school. Sitting there minding my own goddamn business in math class with Mr. Klinefelter. Now, here's how he ran his math class. This guy was fucking different. He was unique. I've never had a class organized like he had his math class. What he would do from day one, you would walk into that classroom, and it seated maybe 25 students, and it was longer than it was wide. And then around, he sat at one end with the chalkboard, of course, and then around the other three walls, placed on the registers and multiple tabletops were piles of sheets, and these were the worksheets that the students were to work on at their own pace. I think he had them laid out for the whole year. So there were maybe 50 or 60 or 80 or 100 sheets. He might have split them in half for half the year, and then after Christmas he would put the other half down. But there were a lot of piles of sheets. So you would work on these sheets at your own pace, and so the smarter students could go faster, the dumber ones would lag behind, and average people would stay somewhere in the middle. In the beginning of every class, he would spend about 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes going over the lesson, and then the remainder of that class, you would pick whatever sheet you were on and continue working on that, and then go on to the next one in the pile. Like I said, you could be lagging way behind. And he would field questions after his lecture for the remainder of the class. If you were stuck on something, you could go up and ask him about it and get some advice. Now, one day, Mr. Klinefelter decided to go on to some kind of a, I don't want to say a rant. Well, he was kind of rambling on about some personal thing he'd been involved in, and I was a little bit behind in my workload. I was like 3 or 4 worksheets behind what the rest of the class was on, and I was very concerned about that. And he was going on for 10 or 15 minutes about God knows what in his personal life. And me being autistic and, socially stupid, I raised my hand, Mr. Klinefelter. He says, "Yes, David." And I said, very politely, very civilly, can we start working on our worksheets now? And he got so pissed off. His face turned red, and he clenched his jaw, and the veins on his neck popped. And he glared at me, and his nostrils flared. And he said, "You," and he pointed right at me, and he said, "You go out in the hall. Get out in the hall with your nose against the wall and stand there until the period's over." And I was very shocked and upset, and I didn't know why he was so pissed off. Like, I had no clue. I simply wanted to get my work done. I just wanted to be a good student, and I was just inquiring as to whether I could continue working on my problems. And He threw me out in the hall, and I stood there with my nose against the wall, and anybody who was wandering by walked by and laughed. And it was very humiliating. And so I think he was one of the worst teachers that I've ever had. Yeah, he definitely ranks in the top 5 worst teachers I have had. So, well, that's my thought for the day. You have a good evening.
Enter the personal hell of Christopher Irving. The line between the living and the dead becomes blurred with deadly consequences in this dark psychological thriller. Get your exciting copy of This Side of Midnight by David Halk, available in ebook and paperback at Amazon.com.